Some might argue that the best team in the NFL is headed to Lucas Oil Stadium to take on our Indianapolis Colts. Welcome back to the Colts Unplugged Pod, Episode 7. I'm your co-host, one of your co-hosts, Profan Logan, joined with my other co-host, Ati Oberoy. What up, y'all? Feels good to be back again, talking about some
Mm-hmm.
Colts football with the best person to talk about Colts football with, Ati
You
Oberoy. How
know it,
you doing?
baby. Let's go. I'm doing good, man. Had a long day at work, ready to talk some Colts football. Excited to have the best team in the NFL enter our stadium. Feels like a trap game, right? Not for us, obviously. For the Lions, feels like a little bit of a trap game.
100%. I'll say this first initial thoughts on the opening line. Anytime I see a home team open up as a plus 7.5, I like it. Touchdown underdogs
Mm.
at home in the NFL. I mean, we see it happen all the time, Addy. You could be looking at a team like the Carolina Panthers or the Jaguars or the Titans. The NFL is the NFL. And yes, I get it that, the Lions have shown that they're blowing teams out, that they're a little different than most teams. But it's the NFL, and winning by more than a touchdown is a tough thing to do, regardless of how good you are. I like it. I like exactly where the Colts are right now. Nobody expects them to win. They're massive underdogs at home. I think they're in a fantastic spot.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, it's at the end of the day, it's grown men versus grown men. It doesn't matter what their record is. I think plus 7.5, right? I'm taking the plus. I'm taking the plus money there. I think plus 7.5 sounds about right. I think the Colts are going to be able to cover that. Um, this team played really well, and the Jets, not obviously a great offensive team, but we talked about it last episode. Top 5, top 7 passing defense and defense in
Yep.
total. And AR kind of dissected them. So I just hope AR had a great practice. I hope it wasn't a 1-week thing. I pray it isn't, because AR, my young prince, as we call you, we're so excited to see you go up against this team, showcase your talents. Granted, once again, it's the 1 p.m. slate. But Josh Down said on Debo's podcast yesterday, he goes, hey, this is going to be a sneaky good game. And I hope he lives up to it. I hope it really is.
100%. That's the entire football world, and obviously Colts Nation, but even the entire football world, I would argue, wants to see how Anthony Richardson will follow up that career game that he had, and hopefully he can continue dominating the NFL. That's what you and
That's the
I
goal.
want. That's what
Have the
Colts
next
Nation
Josh Allen.
wants.
Yep.
Let's go. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, come on. It starts here. Starts here. Number one team in the league. Let's go. I wanted
Let's go.
to quickly kind of transition into looking at the tail of the tape between the two teams. Something we always like to do. Let's take a look at how they actually match up on paper. Obviously, once the whistle blows on Sunday at 1 p.m., some of these things can be thrown out the window because it's football. But I do think it's interesting looking at. I think the thing I wanted to highlight the most on the Lions end. We'll start there. The one area of weakness that I see that this Colts team could exploit is the fact that the Lions do give up a lot of passing yards. They're 27th in the league in passing yards, which is actually one worse than the Colts pass defense, interestingly enough. That sounds good to me for Anthony Richardson, right? Coming off of a game where he sliced and diced and dissected the what were they? The number 2 overall coming into the game. The Jets,
Pass defense.
number 2
Yeah, the second
overall
pass
pass
defense in the
defense.
league.
Yeah. And so to go from that to the 27th best pass defense in the Lions, I like that matchup for AR. So hopefully that trend continues of the Lions giving up a lot of passing yards. They play a lot of man coverage, I've heard, just like the Jets do. So we're gonna see. We're gonna
Adonai
find out. And
Mitchell.
AR, I think, thrives against man coverage. So, what do
Yep.
you see numbers wise on the Lions, and what are some other areas that either have you kind of worried or that you think the Colts might be able to exploit a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's actually really funny that you mentioned that stat about the Lions there. Kind of have that bend don't break defense, and it's really funny because there was this guy in my
Yep.
mentions on Twitter. I posted a tweet. I was like, "What do you guys think your score predictions are going to be for the Colts and Lions?" And this Lions fan commented. He goes, "I think it's going to be pretty close." And Lions fans are always kind of nice because they've had nothing their entire life until the last couple of years, so they're just happy to be here. And he commented in my mentions. He was just like, score is going to be pretty close. I think it's going to be a high scoring game because we're like a bend don't break kind of defense. We give up a lot of yards,
Mhm.
and it made sense because when we looked at the stats, today it was like, yeah, they do give up a lot of yards, but that's also very similar to Gus Bradley's defense, which is also very similar to Matt Eberflus' defense. It's kind of that bend don't break kind of defense. We're going to give up a lot of yards, but we're not going to give up a lot of chunk plays. And we're going to try to limit the amount of red zone trips being converted into touchdowns rather than just field goals. And that's kind of their bend, don't break defense. Hold them to field goals and then have the Colts offense kind of dissect. And that's cool to see for Anthony Richardson, who obviously showcased his dissection capabilities against what we talked about, a top 3 passing defense last week versus the New York Jets. So that's something that I'm excited about. One thing I'm scared about, though, Logan, is the fact that the Lions, they actually have a top 5 rushing defense.
Mm.
Right? They're averaging about 94 yards per game. Granted, though, they haven't really played a dual threat quarterback this season like Anthony Richardson. So I'm excited to see what that
Yeah.
looks like. They lost Aiden Hutchinson for the year. Unfortunately, they brought in, I believe, Darius Smith, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and
Correct.
so something to definitely consider. Can JT find a way to dissect this on the ground as well?
I think it's interesting too. You mentioned that the Lions are a bend don't break defense. The fact that they're top 5 in points allowed, so they're only giving up 17.7 points a game right now, average, which is crazy. Top 5 defense in that category, but they're giving up a lot of passing yards. So that proves your point 100% that they are literally a bend don't break defense. They're going to let you go all the way down the field, but then they're not going to let you get into the end zone. They're going to prevent you from getting that 6 points. They're going to make you kick field goals or they're going to make you punt right
Yep.
once you cross past the 50-yard line. So that is definitely an area that the Colts are going to struggle probably with, hopefully, right? Or hopefully not. I'm saying, like, I could see them struggling in that area for sure. They're going to have to be on their A game when they do get that ball inside the red zone. They got to capitalize on those opportunities. We got to turn those Matt Gay field goals into touchdowns, right? Into Josh
Yes.
Downs touchdowns, into Michael Pittman touchdowns, into JT touchdowns, into AR touchdowns. We gotta turn those into 6 points instead of 3 points. I think that's
Yeah.
going to be a key too.
Well, we kind of saw that last week, Logan, right? We saw like AR led offense against that top defense with the Jets, 28 points. 28 point scoring versus we're averaging about 21.5 during the year. Obviously, it's a little bit on the higher end, but we did have Joe Flacco for like 4 of those games. And
Yeah.
and outside of the Jags game, I forget how many points he put up, but abysmal last 2 couple of games with Joe Flacco, which brought that average down. But we saw that what this Colts offense is able to do. Like they're able to score points even against a top defense like the Jets. They're going to have a lot of yards. The Colts are going to have a lot of yards. They're going to dissect this offense, or dissect this defense, hopefully through the air. But the biggest thing for me, like I just talked about, is just getting the run game going. Good
Mm-hmm.
defense and defensive line for the Lions, despite missing Aiden Hutchinson. How can we get JT going behind this O line? I know we brought in a former Indianapolis Colt now, who was a former Indianapolis Colts, to now our right guard. Let's see how that plays out if Dalton Tucker continues to play at right guard. But that O line needs to solidify this game for Anthony Richardson. They need to give him enough time, let the runs be able to formulate at the end of the day.
Yeah. Piggybacking off of that, definitely a great signing for the Colts getting Mark Lewinsky back. He's going to add some veteran leadership there, hopefully on the line. I'm not sure if they'll plug him in right away or if he's got to kind of work his way up from the practice squad. Who really knows there? I don't see why they wouldn't elevate him because they need a lot of help and depth at that position right now.
Yeah.
I will say this. last week was the offensive line's worst performance, probably of the season. One of their worst performances for sure, at least on the running game, on the running side of
3
things.
rookies didn't help. Yeah.
So it's going to be a tough task to come back from that against a top 5 rushing defense in the Lions. That's going to be tough. So we're going to really see what this offensive line is made of there. And then
And it
number
looks like we'll be
2,
without Bernard
I
Ryman too. Hasn't practiced in
man,
2 days.
that's Ryman. I never thought that. I mean, we knew obviously the left tackle position is so important, but you really see how important he is these past few games. Him not being out there, it's a big deal. He's a really good left tackle, a budding left tackle. He's getting better with each game. He's
Yeah,
gotten
we got to
better
see the
since last
significance of
season,
that
I would
knee
say.
injury
So
though.
yeah, that's tough. I was gonna say though, on the Lions defense side of things, they did lose their stud linebacker and play caller. He's the defensive captain and play caller, Anzalone.
Mm.
He's out for like 6 to 8 weeks, so pretty serious injury. He's probably not going to be back until the playoffs.
Hmm.
That's who knows. Who knows if that can be an area of opportunity for the Colts to exploit there too. Definitely, we're at the point in the season now where there's injuries on both sides, and teams are going to be looking to exploit some of those holes in their respective defenses and offenses. So I
Yeah, I would
expect the
love to
Colts
see.
to try to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I would love to see JT take advantage of that in the passing game. Would love to see the tight ends take advantage of that in the passing game too. Get them a little bit more involved than they have been. I know Ogletree had like 1 catch. Mo Alley
Hmm.
Cox had 1 or 2. I know that 2-point conversion last week. But would love to get the tight ends involved, especially with a big linebacker out for the Lions, and then maybe even the guys in the slot. Josh Downs. Um, this is a team, the Detroit Lions defense, that's allowing the 4th most yards to wide receivers in the slot. And so I think Josh Downs has like
Oof,
490 or 480
it's an area
yards.
of opportunity.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, coming out of the slot. So 2/3 of his yards, if not more than that's coming out of the slot or playing out of the slot. And he's a top 5 slot receiver in the league. I'm sorry, those of you that don't watch the Colts. That guy is a stud wide receiver, more than likely Colts true wide receiver 1. And they need to exploit the fact that the Lions are not good at defending slot receivers.
Yeah, Kenny Moore for the Colts has his word cut out for him, right? He's gonna have to have a hell of a game. He's probably gonna be going up against Amon-Ra St. Brown for most of the game, I would say, because the Lions do like to run him out of the slot and they move him around a lot. That's gonna be a matchup. I hope Kenny brings his A game. He's gonna need it. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a
I
dog.
mean,
Uh,
I mean, how do you stop this offense, like the Lions offense? I feel like they
yeah.
just have guys everywhere. It's like Jahmyr Gibbs torches you, and then he gets a little bit tired, and the defense is worn out, and they're like, okay, we're going to hit you with David Montgomery now. And you're like, fuck. And then, by the way, guys, we
It's the
also
last
have a
thing you
top
want.
3. Yeah, we also have a top 3 offensive line. And like, okay. And now we have
Yes.
Amon-Ra coming out of the slot, the Michael Thomas slant guy merchant. He's going to torch you. And then it's like, oh, you're a little bit tired there. We're going to hit you over the top with Jamison Williams. Oh, you don't like that? Here's Sam Laporta. It's like,
I was
when
gonna
does
say,
it
don't
end,
forget
dude?
about Laporta, dude, because the Colts
Yeah.
seem to struggle a little bit with tight ends, and he's back this week, so
So like, what do you do?
that could spell
How
trouble
do you
too.
stop this? How do you stop this offense? It's like bend don't break at this point. It only works a certain amount, but this team has
I tell
dropped like 50 and 60 points the last couple of weeks.
I couldn't agree more. That's one area. My last point that I wanted to make on the tail of the tape, looking at the numbers here, I agree with you. It's going to be extremely hard to stop the Lions' offense. That's the side I'm the most worried about. Right, is the Colts' defense is going to have their work cut out for them. But look at what happened in the Lions versus the Texans game a few weeks ago. Jared Goff throws 5 interceptions and they still find a way to win. That's what
How?
scares me because
How?
usually the differentiator, right? The thing that allows you to win a game that maybe you're not supposed to is you got to have some things go your way. You got to get turnovers. You got to make game-changing plays, right? Well, they
Yep.
gave away the ball 5 times. and they were still able to win, right?
And that's a
That
good
scares me a little
defense.
bit. And then
Houston's a good defense. The Titans are a good defense,
exactly,
and
yeah,
they just torch them. Except, Houston kept it close, but like they torched the Titans.
yeah.
Um,
And like you said, the Lions they are a chameleon of sorts on offense where they're not married to an offensive scheme. Ben Johnson, he'll one week he'll run it 40 times, and then the next week he'll throw it 40 times with Jared Goff. He doesn't give a shit. It's whatever is working, right? And that's
yeah,
what scares me a little bit with the Colts. Last point I wanted to make is that they are still giving up 143 rush yards per game. I think it's 28th. I want to say they're still sitting right around 28th in the league on that. Man, if Ben Johnson smells blood over there on the Detroit sideline, he's just going to keep feeding the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs, keep feeding the ball to Montgomery, and just boom, 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 1-2, one
and,
two.
and it's like if you're
That
tired of
could
that,
get
here comes
ugly.
Jamison Williams on a jet sweep.
Hmm.
It's like they're just gonna
On
keep
a
doing
jet
that thing.
sweep. So,
But that's the thing. The
yeah, they're going
Colts.
to have to seriously
Go,
step up. I'll say that. They're going to have to step up big time.
I will say the Colts can punch him in the mouth the same way too. Even though this is a good rushing defense, you got JT obviously, who I think is still a top 5 back in the league. You've got Anthony Richardson, who Steichen actually used correctly, had QB power runs, QB runs to the outside, RPOs where AR could keep the ball. And then you have plays like Ashton Doolin and Adonai Mitchell on a jet sweep and things of that
Mm.
nature. You know what I want to see, Logan? Do you remember that one play last year where Anthony Richardson got concussed against the Texans? It was week 2. That one play where he like fake handed it off and then faked the around jet sweep and then just took the ball by himself and just ran it for like a 25-yard touchdown. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about,
Mm.
but I am
I do,
waiting
yeah,
to
against
see that
Houston
play.
where he got concussed. It was where
Yes,
he got concussed and left the game. Yeah, no, I remember that play really well, actually. That
I'm
was a nice one.
waiting to see it again. I would love to see it and to bring it out in your, and we haven't mentioned this yet, but you're wearing your Indiana Knights jerseys. Like, come on now. We got
Ooh,
gypped last year against the Browns when we wore them. But let's make it happen. Make some cool shit happen in those jerseys. Bring out the playbook,
tell you
Steichen.
this. It kind of pisses me off slightly moving into the Indiana Knights topic. It pisses me off a little bit that the Colts don't get to wear the Indiana Knights jerseys on a night game, but they kind of ruined that for themselves because they played Joe Flacco on their only primetime game. Uh,
Yup.
it's tough, man. You want to see the Indiana Knights at night. That's when it would be the most sexy.
But things that
But
would
of
they wear
course,
their
we get it in
Indiana
a 1 p.m.
Knights?
game, so
Would they wear it away at night? Because we played Vikings in Skulltown, and then we played the Jets, which
probably
was a
not.
night game.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm just speaking for future reference. It seems as if unless things drastically change here, maybe now with AR balling, hopefully the Colts get a primetime game in Lucas Oil next year. Ursay, you better wear the Indiana Knights jerseys if it's a home primetime game. There's no excuse. Just just book it now.
100%. Hundred
Book it
percent,
now.
100%. Logan, I know you mentioned this, and this is something we wanted to talk about too. X Factor. Who is the X
Yes.
Factor on the Colts that's going to have the biggest impact on them winning this game?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it sounds cheesy to say, but I'll give an X factor outside. I'll go with an X factor. Should I go on offense and defense or just overall? My one
I
X
think
factor.
overall, let's talk about
Okay,
overall.
overall.
Who's going to be that X Factor?
Yeah, I would say honestly, I think the most important X factor that is going to have to play like a veteran guy, which obviously he's very capable of, and he's going to have to wreak havoc and really show that he is still an elite level defensive tackle is DeForest Buckner. I'm going to go with DeForest Buckner
Mm,
because you've got a Lions offensive line that is fantastic, right? As you mentioned, top 3 on most sites. PFF has them as a top 3, sometimes number 1. And they can run the freaking football. DeForest Buckner needs to get back there and really, really, really cause some trouble. He needs to attract those double teams to free up Grover Stewart a little bit, maybe free up Latu, free up Kwity Paye. It's going to be a must, bro. Because if DeForest Buckner does not get any push into the backfield, it could be a very, very long game. We're talking maybe Lions by 14, maybe Lions by 21, maybe Lions by 28. They're going to have to step up on that D line. And so I think it starts with DeForest Buckner for me as my X factor. He's got to have a hell of a game.
I really like that because top offensive line, like we talked about, like you got to make some noise. You got to make Jared Goff uncomfortable. You've seen what it looks like when he's comfortable. He has like an 85% completion percentage, 4 tutties for like either 180 yards or like 400. So like it could really go either way with their weapons. I will say this though, if Latu gets a sack on Jared Goff when he's up against Penei Sewell, Latu, I'm getting a jersey. I'm getting a jersey. Like I'm getting your jersey because that would be so sick. That would be so sick, man, to be able to see that. And he's been performing so well. The sacks are going to come, I promise. You have the highest pressure rate on the Colts defensive line, so that's really exciting to see. I'm going to switch gears, and since you talked about defense, or you talked about overall, but you had a defensive player, I'm going to talk about an offensive player that I think that's going to be an X factor, or should be an X factor, and that is Anthony Richardson's best friend, Josh Downs. I know I said it earlier. He's Mr. Reliable. I feel like you throw the ball to him, it doesn't matter if it's like 3 feet in front of him, he's going to dive like we saw in the Pats game last year. He's going to dive like we saw in the Jets game last year. He's going to find a way to catch that ball. Yep. And then secondly, we talked a little bit about earlier, Lions are really bad at guarding wide receivers that come out of the slot. Josh Downs, you've been playing the slot a lot this year. You have 480-plus yards in the slot, which is a majority of your yardage for this season. Exploit. Find a way to make it happen. But they got a lot of good DBs, man. Like they got Carlton Davis, I believe. They got that safety, Kirby Joseph. Brian Branch is playing like a top 5 defensive back in the NFL. Their pick from last year. Like they've got some dogs. But hey, we got some dogs too. We got some people that are willing to fight. And it's for me, it feels like what are you gonna lose kind of game. Like, what do you have to lose? It's like, just go out there. You're playing the best team in the league. They're coming into your house. Like, just give it your all. My only concern, though, Logan, is I believe after this game, we play the Patriots in Gillette Stadium, I believe. My only concern with that game is, have you seen, like, every time a team plays the Lions, the next week they're like 0-6 or 0-7. This season, it's like they have not won a game after playing the Lions. Because
curse, eh?
Yes, they're so physical. They're so aggressive. My concern is if you lose this game, which obviously you're 7.5 point underdogs. If you lose this game, I hope you don't. How is that going to impact next week's game? Because you can't lose to the Patriots. Because if you lose this game and you lose to the Patriots, there goes your playoff chances. Respectfully, you got to beat the AFC teams. You got to beat the Pats.
I agree. Yeah, thankfully. The Lions are an NFC team, so a loss against them wouldn't hurt too badly. Obviously, any loss hurts, but not too badly. It does put you in a position where you most likely need to win out, though. You're very correct there.
Broncos,
I couldn't agree
game
more.
Matters, and every other game. Yep.
I think Broncos will probably end up coming down to being the game of the year. Quite honest with you, is what it's looking like right now. Yeah,
it feels like Colts Texans last year, week 17, except you get it in week 13 or week 15, whenever the heck we play. So I think that's
because whoever wins that game is probably going to get that 7th seed. So 100%. That's a great point. Playing the Lions is such an emotional roller coaster, most likely for a lot of teams, and such a physical toll for a lot of teams as well. So that I hope that the Colts, again, I hope they bring their A game. I love that you chose Josh Downs because Josh Downs is not scared of the Lions. If you saw him on the Deebo Samuel podcast clip from that, he said this game's going to be a lot closer than you guys think. So he's ready to go.
Yep.
And you heard it here first, guys. If DeForest Buckner gets 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, a bunch of QB pressures, Josh Downs gets 8 catches, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Colts are going to win, okay? Period.
Colts are going to win, period. Logan pulled those numbers out of his ass, but I love it. I love it.
I've seen the future. I've seen the stat lines.
Yes.
That is what's going to happen. No.
Speaking
So
of seeing the
on
future, though,
that,
Logan.
let's.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say score prediction. Look at that.
Uh,
I think you're gonna say that.
Look at
I
that.
don't
We were
know.
both looking at the same exact way. Yeah, I was going to ask you too your score prediction. So let's start with you. Where are you thinking? I know you like them to cover the Colts to cover the 7.5. Are you ballsy enough to pick the Colts in the Indiana Knights? What do you think?
Ooh, I'm gonna say 28-22 Detroit Lions. Unfortunately, Detroit Lions. But I'm gonna make it about a 6-point game. I don't know how the hell they're gonna
Yeah.
get to 22. I don't know what the math looks like there, but I think it really is like Down said. I know we said it a couple of times. This is gonna be a lot closer of a game than people think. Like, people are underestimating this Colts team. This bend don't break defense. This offense is gonna get rolling. They have nothing to lose. You're wearing your Indiana Knights. Last time we were the Indiana Knights, we dropped like 30-something points. There's something special about that uni. And so that's kind of what I have. I do have the Lions winning. Unfortunately, we got to put our Colts biases aside. I would love to see the Colts win this. It would make my life. I might get my first tattoo. Might get a Colts tattoo if this happens. But that's my score prediction. Unfortunately, Lions win 28-22, but we'll see what goes from there. But what about you? What are you sitting at?
All right, guys. I'm going to come off as probably the most homer sounding individual
Oh,
on the
no.
planet today. But here's the thing. Hear me out. I have reasons for this. You look at years past at Colts teams that were much worse, much worse than this team. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs with Matt Ryan. They beat the Baltimore Ravens with Gardner Minshew. Give me the Colts beating the Detroit Lions with Anthony Richardson. Here's why. There's always one game a season. One game, Ati. One game every single season for the Colts that they have absolutely no business winning, that they always win. Now, vice versa. There's always a game that they end up losing that they were not supposed to lose as well. And I'll get into that later. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be New England. I think they lose to New
Oh,
England.
no. I mean, Drake May's going
I'll be honest.
crazy. Yeah.
Yep. So
Plays with the stats that the Lions beat people up the next game. So plays to that.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going to go Colts 23. Colts 23, Lions 21.
Wow.
Close game. 2-point game.
So
they
you're
won
saying
by
I should
1
throw
point yesterday?
You're saying I should throw this month's rent
last game,
on
not yesterday.
Colts money line? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Plus 320 right now on DraftKings and some other
Whew.
books. Plus 320.
Whew.
So
I make a little parlay. What'd you say again?
man.
Colts
I
money
like
line, Josh Downs, 8 receptions, 127 yards. DeForest Buckner, 2 sacks. I might just make a quick parlay. I probably pay my mortgage next year.
If you hit that, you might not have to ever work again. I'll be honest.
Never again. Never again.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel it in my bones, man. I think the Colts, they always win a game that they have absolutely no business winning. The Lions are coming off of think about it. They're coming off of an historical ass beating. 52
A couple of them.
6. Historical ass beating. And a historical offensive performance. I think there might be a little bit of a letdown, honestly, on the Lions, and I think they might come in and overlook the Colts a little bit. And I think the defense can eat a little bit. And like I said, if DeForest Buckner steps up, has a good game, and some of the other guys on defense step up and have a good game, I think it's possible.
And you know what?
24,
Dan Campbell,
24 or 23-21 Colts.
Dan Campbell, you're a phenomenal head coach. I love you. You're a great leader. But listen, you knock us down, we're going to come back up. And when we come back up, we're going to bite a kneecap. You knock us down again, we're going to bite that other kneecap. Is that what he said, right? Something like that? Watch the fuck out, Dan Campbell.
Not only are we going to bite a kneecap, we're going to take a horseshoe, like an actual metal horseshoe, and beat your kneecap with it when we're on the ground. Bang!
Yeah, you like
take
that?
Take your kneecap out. Now you don't have a kneecap. Try running for the rest of the game after that.
You like that? I hope
That's gonna
Zaire
be.
talks all the shit in the world. I just hope he talks so much shit. Needs to. Get in Jared Goff's head. Deal thing.
Oh man, I'm gonna get so many mentions and just absolutely shit on if the Colts get run out of the building. Though I'll say that
Yeah, you
we
will.
can't have the Colts get run out of the building. I'll say that right now. Colts, I'm asking you from Profan Logan, the bottom of my heart, don't get blown out of the building.
Yep.
Just make it close. That's all we're asking.
Logan, we're going to learn a lot, though, on Sunday because we're going to learn if this Colts team is actually good or not. Everyone says you play the Lions, you figure out if you keep it close, you're an okay team. If you don't, you're just a bad team. So Colts do not get blown out because I have belief that you're a good team. Please don't prove me wrong. Don't get blown out. Do Logan's score. Please don't do my score, but if you have to, that's fine. You're still a good team. But I prefer his. His sounds better.
Yeah.
23-21,
Yes,
is that what you
sir.
said? Or 24-21?
Yeah, 23-21 by 2 because
Colts.
Colts won versus the Jets by 1. They're going to win over the Lions by 2. That's
And then beat the Pats by 3. Is that where we're going?
I think they might lose to the Pats, but that's for another episode.
Yeah, that's for next Thursday, guys.
All right, y'all. Well, appreciate all of you for tuning in. Thanks so much for all the support. We've been popping off on Twitter, now known as X, which is still stupid. I'm always going to keep calling it Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
We've been popping off on TikTok, thanks to you guys. On YouTube, thank you so much. Make sure you go and subscribe, like, share. All you can do. It really helps a lot. It keeps us going, and it keeps more Colts fans coming in every single week so that we can continue to have great conversations and continue to build the community. So thank you guys so much there. Ati, any final words for Colts Nation?
No words. I just want to hear a lot of touchdown, INDY, on Sunday, baby.